Babylons can't crack the code.
What do YouTube? B Kelly back again with another banger video. And in today's video, y'all, I am going to be talking about one of the hottest topics in all of college football right now, and it involves the Big 12. The last time I made a video on the Big 12, it was about OU and Texas making it clear that they are leaving and they're heading to the SEC. But this video is different. This is good news for the Big 12, as last time I talked about them, it seemed like they were doomed. But now, it seems a lot better since they are now going to add UCF, BYU, Houston, and Cincinnati. Before I move on with the video, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, as we are on the road to 10K. Now let's get into it. Before I talk about the move itself, with the 4 teams that are going to be joining the Big 12 Conference, we first have to take it all the way to the beginning with how this really started to all fall out. Just a month ago, when OU and Texas were making it clear they did not want to be in the Big 12 anymore. First, OU and Texas were in talks with the SEC about potentially joining their conference since 2020, but it was leaked in 2021 during the 2021 college football offseason, right before the season was about to begin, and it caused a whole lot of drama, and eventually it would end up in OU and Texas leaving the Big 12 ultimately, and they're supposed to be joining the SEC in 2025, but they could join before that with a buyout. With the news of this breaking of OU and Texas leaving the SEC, a lot of people thought the Big 12 was ultimately going to die. People thought the Big 12 teams were going to end up leaving to conferences such as the Big 10, ACC, and Pac-12. It really did seem like this would be the end of the Big 12. I mean, they were losing their most 2 known teams in the conference that generated the most money. Everybody knows who OU and Texas are. But now with them gone, the future was very, very bleak. You were either going to have to add teams and try to keep those teams in your conference to not leave to other conferences. And there were teams in the Big 12 that started to contact other conferences such as the Pac-12, ACC, and even the Big 10. If you want to look at a more in-depth view of how it really all began with OU and Texas saying they were going to go to the SEC, I will have the video I made about that I went very in-depth on in the description down below. To continue on with this whole situation that the Big 12 was in, with how they were losing OU and Texas to the SEC, they had to step up now, and they had to step up fast because realignment is coming soon, and they have to make some moves or they're going to lose almost every team in their conference, maybe even all the teams in their conference. The Big 12 would end up getting teams and surviving. They would end up getting UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, and Houston to join the conference. Now, yes, this is not exactly going to make up for OU and Texas leaving the conference completely, but it's going to make up for it quite a bit in my opinion. And overall, I think this is very smart, and I think all the teams they got could really help out the Big 12 right off the jump. All 4 of the teams bring something special to the table. With UCF, they generate a lot of money on a yearly basis, and that's going to help out with a lot of the revenue for the Big 12 Conference. And not only that, their football team has been on the rise as well, as they've had some very good seasons for the Golden Knights program, and they have a lot of potential as well. They've been close on closing on some very highly touted recruits, and their recruiting's been taking a bigger jump with the new addition at head coach with Gus Malzahn. With Cincinnati, they have history in a few sports of being a good sports program, and you're going to get another market for the Big 12 in the Ohio market and that's going to help out the Big 12 a lot as well. And Cincinnati with their football team, yes, we talk a lot of football on this channel. They've been on the rise lately as well, making a New Year's Six Bowl appearance where they just barely lost to Georgia this past season. BYU is another team that's going to help the Big 12 as they have good sports, and BYU is pretty known in the world as it is a big university and a big college, especially in Utah. Houston brings some things to the table as well, as they have some great sports down there at Houston and some very rich traditions as well in those said sports programs. And not only that, having that Houston market available for the Big 12 is going to help them out a lot in the conference, as Houston is a bigger market for college football, as in said with the Big 12 teams in college football. As Houston, they're bigger than Stillwater, they're bigger than Manhattan, they're bigger than Lawrence, they're bigger than Waco, and all of that, and there's even more than just that. Those are just teams I'm naming off the top of my head, just for a warning. And it's just that's going to help out the Big 12 a lot, and Houston generates money as well, just like UCF. Not as much as UCF, but they generate a good amount as well. After saying all that, there are some things you need to expect on the timetable when some of these teams are going to join the Big 12. Now, the first team that's going to be joining the Big 12 is BYU, as they're expected to join the conference in 2023. Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati will be joining the conference later than BYU, and the main reason why, or at least they're supposed to join later, is because they're in a conference. BYU is an independent team, while UCF, Houston, and Cincinnati are all in the American Athletic Conference. All three of these schools have obligations to the American Athletic Conference, and more than likely they're not going to do the buyout before 2024, and they'll be joining the conference in 2024. The Big 12 is certainly heading in the right direction, but they're not done yet in expansion. As yes, they're going to have 12 teams in the conference after OU and Texas leave, but they're going to add 2 more teams as well, or at least it's heavily rumored to be that way, as those 2 teams are supposed to be Memphis and Boise State. To close off this video, I am going to be talking about my opinion on this whole situation and this expansion of the Big 12. Now, personally, I am all for this Big 12 expansion. Now, I know some people are going to say some stuff like, oh, these are just a bunch of Group of 5 teams, but they're good Group of 5 teams. Most of them were top teams this past season in college football, and are usually top teams in their conferences if they're in a conference and they have history to back them up. They all bring something to the table for the Big 12. I know that they're going to be losing OU and Texas, but I don't think the Big 12 is just going to be a lot worse. I think the Big 12 is going to be very competitive, and they have a lot of solid teams joining the conference, and if they can get Memphis and Boise State to join the conference as well, it's just going to keep on getting better and better. And not only that, I think all the teams are going to join the Big 12 conference in this next expansion that they're having, that they are all going to make huge strides in their program in this next chapter, being recognized as a Power 5 team in the NCAA's eyes. I think the recruiting for all of these teams are going to go up from where it is now to where it's going to be in the future in the Big 12. Now, before you head out off this video, remember to smash that like button, turn on them post notifications, and subscribe for more videos. Be Kelly out.